Bases dropped on probably the mother of Reaction Mondays here on the SDH Network in the morning show. John here, Abe there, no dilly, no dally zone. So what was it like for you, my friend?
Yeah, look, I made the joke like a while ago as Atlanta United, and don't get it twisted, like Atlanta United's playoff run started well before the actual playoffs. I mean they had to get some results, get some help. And I joked, and, back then it was pre-Halloween, that they're the MLS Michael Myers, right? I mean, you just can't kill these guys. And that's got to be what Miami's thinking today after they take a lead and then almost immediately see it evaporate. And it's just one of these things like, all right, I shot him in the chest. Like, we're good now. And it's like, no, man, he just sat up like the Undertaker. Like, that's what this team does. And that's what they've done this whole playoff run. Like it's really been impressive to see the way they've responded, especially in the first half of games over the course of this, because that was one of the bugaboos that I think cost them quite a bit in the regular season, was slow starts and having to find adjustments and always trailing, stuff like that. Just doesn't seem to bother them. You combine that with, and I don't remember the exact stat, but like 9 of the last 11 goals or whatever it is, 8 of the last 10 have been scored by different players. And it's just everyone gets a little piece of the action. And obviously TRA has been a star, and he's been one of the guys that has scored a couple. Saba's got a couple. But, you go back down the list, and Bartosz Lisz's name hadn't been seen until this past week. And he obviously tallied the big one. It's just one of these things where, you would ask me at different times, like, my level of confidence. And it's like, there's no reason not to be confident. Like, I don't care that it's on the road. You have performed as well, really better than anyone in the entire league against that Miami team. For whatever reason, it's an odd matchup. Maybe it's a mentality thing. Maybe it's a formation thing. Maybe it's just one guy just seems to stick out. But you perform well against Miami. I mean, I both am surprised, but at the same time, like, credit to the players. I'm not surprised. Like I didn't walk into this game against Miami Saturday night being like, oh, it'd take a miracle to win. Like, no, like, we've played them straight up 4 times this season and really gone right at them. Even in the games that we lost, we were right there with them and frustrated. And the thing I've always said about Inter Miami is that they're great front runners. And what they do, they take a lead, right? But then they get a bigger lead and a bigger lead and a bigger lead. And that's where they play comfortable. Atlanta United's had this crazy ability, again, not just on Saturday night, all season long, to, okay, Inter Miami takes a lead. That lead doesn't increase. And I think they've gotten continually frustrated by it. And obviously, the maximum frustration would be Saturday night, where you take that lead, and then in like 5.5 minutes, you're trailing. And you're like, all right, well, like, forget like running away with this 3-1. Like, we've got to battle our butts off just to try and get back in it. So it's been a crazy run for Atlanta United. For whatever reason, they match up so well with Inter Miami, and it led to statistically or argumentatively, whatever you want it to be, the biggest upset in the MLS Cup playoff history.
Plus 44 in the points differential. So you won Captain America's pie plate, and you're out the door in 3 games. You opened about 19 different doors here, so let me see if I can find one. Juice boxes, by the way, for Atlanta United going into that game 3, a plus 731 to win outright in 90 minutes. So everyone who's dealing with juice boxes is like, it's Messi and friends. We'll do what we do. I will posit this when it comes to Messi and friends and their structure and their DNA. To me, they remind me of Loyola Marymount in their heyday, where they are so front heavy. They want to score, they want to score, they want to score because they have so many issues at the back, whether it's inexperience, younger players, injuries, having to take the players that you have on your roster, put them in unfamiliar positions. And when Loyola Marymount played Michigan in the tournament, that was when Michigan, stepped up, played some defense. Loyola Marymount didn't hit all their shots, and they end up exiting the tournament earlier than a lot of folks would have liked for them to, considering the storyline that was attached to that program at the time. you end up with a group where if you can get the ball away from them and go in transition the other way, you're instantly down 2 defenders because Messi and Suarez rarely could come back defensively and would come back because they were managing their energy at the time. So basically it was 10v8 in a normal situation. But then you get them in transition, you've got your speed, and you're trying to get back to dudes playing unnatural positions, and Drake Callender's like, okay, so I've got to get ready here. So that to me was what stuck in my head. It reminded me of going up against Loyola Marymount.
Yeah, and Jamal Tiare, for all his, I don't want to criticize, but faults as a striker, what he does bring is that speed and that ability to chase down long balls. And I think that is uniquely a problem for Miami. I think they would much rather face a guy that has an incredible shot or maybe dribbles a lot as opposed to just a pure, let me go get the ball, take a touch, and finish it. And that obviously caused problems for them at the back. There's no doubt about that. And look, I don't know what it is about Atlanta that was able to keep Miami off the board in those situations. It scrambles. The team scrambles incredibly well defensively. Obviously, Goose, the last 2 games, this whole series, what are you going to say? I mean, a complete turn back the clock effort. Some of the best performances he's had in a Five Stripes uniform have come over the last month and a half. I mean, there's just no other way to describe what he's done recently, including mistakes that he's made. And I know he made one against Montreal, and it cost Atlanta United a goal. He made one against Inter Miami. It cost Atlanta United a goal. The team has picked him up, but at the same time, he's picked them up. And that's part of a little bit of a give and take relationship between the 10 field players and the goalie. And it's just it felt like Miami was always going to be in a situation in this game where they could get frustrated easily. And now how much would that impact their play is a different question. Like Lionel Messi is obviously the greatest. And so he's not going to press or have frustration impact his play. But there are other guys on that team that I'm not sure you would say that about. And so, it always felt like that. But look, Atlanta United knew what they had to do. And you don't need to score 7 goals against the Miami defense that we don't think is great. You just need to score 1 more than they did. And that's what happened. It was just an odd combination of you probably prevented a couple goals that in other situations Miami might score. And the one thing we've always asked about Atlanta United, especially, again, like we've had this crazy run where I think they've now won 5 of their last 6.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't look like dramatically different as a team. Now, I do think they've had better starts in games just in general. The only real difference, John, is the XG and the actual G. The gap has shrunk. They're finishing their chances. I mean, how many times over the course of this season where this team was not performing up to the standards we believe they were capable of, was it just about they're unlucky, the bounces, and they're not finishing chances? And how do you be more clinical in front of goal? Like, we went through all those discussions. Like, we don't need to have them anymore. That's really the only difference. Like as dumb as that sounds, it really does feel like that's the only difference. I mean, you had how many chances, like real chances in that game, and you come away with 3 goals. I mean, Jamal Tiare finished the moments and the strikes that he needed to finish. And it's been not just this one final game 3 either. Like, it's been in this run where you finished the chances and you've been clinical and you've buried opportunities. You weren't doing that for the majority of the season. And obviously, I think now you can see just the simple difference that makes. And when you see, because Atlanta United was always pretty decent at creating some of these chances, now that you're finishing a good portion of them, you get your actual G somewhere near the XG, and you're starting to rack up wins. There's no doubt about it. So the biggest caveat has just been finishing the chances that you've been presented, especially against a team like you mentioned against Miami, where it's going to come in numbers. It's going to come in counters. And they did that. They put Miami in real trouble, and Miami couldn't respond.
Brad, 7 saves on the night once again. You mentioned offensive numbers, and we'll hear from Rob Valentino, Jamal Tiare / Quentin Westberg, Dax McCarty, and we'll hear from some folks as we go here this morning on the show. XG on the day 1.52 for Inter Miami 2.77. Big chances on the day 4 for Atlanta United, 6 for Inter Miami. This was the number that really didn't sink in until you looked at the other part of it. Total shots on the day 25 for Inter Miami, and it was 9 for Atlanta United. Like I said, we mentioned the number of saves for Brad. 17 fouls called, 11 of those on Atlanta United on the day. And then you go down into the defensive categories, and there was one category that just absolutely blew my mind, and it had to do with clearances. So we mentioned the number of shots that Inter Miami took. Atlanta United on the day, 41 clearances defensively compared to 9 for Inter Miami. That shows you what that defense was doing there at the back in front of Brad to make sure Inter Miami wasn't going to score.
Yeah, look, I mean, they were pressing, and like I said, it was kind of a scramble drill. And they were doing everything they could to just get the ball out of the center of the field and out of the box. Because I think that's the one thing you've seen is Miami's comfortable playing pinball, and if they find a shot, they find a shot. They put a bunch over the bar. And we're going to be honest, they put a ton of balls from really close range over the bar. Those weren't registered as shots on goal. They weren't registered as saves. And so Atlanta United caught a little break with kind of the inverse of what they've done, this clinical finishing. Miami, I would say not so much on the night. So, but look, the job is clear anytime you're facing Inter Miami, especially anytime they can get not just into the attacking third, but really beyond that, about 25 and in, a little bit tighter than the full third. That's the red zone for them. I mean, that's their target area, and they've got guys that can hit from range, but they're going to try and play it in the box too. And obviously with Messi's footwork, with Suarez's one-touch ability, it can come out of a tight space. And so just get the ball out and kind of regather. And I think at times we've seen Atlanta United try and build from the back, and at times that has been beneficial and work. But I think you've also seen Atlanta United cost themselves trying to build out the back sometimes, where they've made a mistake. They've given a team an extra chance that maybe they didn't work hard enough to earn, and you pay the price for it. I think it was absolutely a mentality of, look, they're going to try and build and build and build. Let's make them build from the back. Let's get this ball out of danger for the moment, kind of resettle in. I mean, look, there's just – it was such a strong effort from Atlanta United. It really was. Like, there's not many criticisms. I think the fact that you didn't play Miami's game with the fouling and the arguing and the crybaby and the diving, like just staying composed, like just looking at that perspective alone, staying composed and not falling into their traps, both in terms of that aspect, but also on the field, what they're trying to do. It really says what it needs to say, as does the advancement of the team, about the way Rob Valentino has prepared this team, has detailed and explained to them, hey, this is what's going to happen. We need to be ready and make sure you avoid this or that. Again, both from a mentality standpoint and from an on-the-field tactics standpoint.
When you mentioned Bartosz Slisz and his evolution, I guess is probably the best way to phrase it. Here's Bart's numbers, and what once again, it was something when you're like, yeah, you mention his name a lot in the match, and then you go back and look at all of the interactions that he had, and you go, yeah, now I know why I mention him so much. 0.4 in the XG plus XA, 68 touches, 33 of 40, accurate passing, 83%. He had the one shot on target, 4 of 6 on the dribble, won 9 of 13 of his ground duels, missed his one. It was 1 for 1 in the air. So 10 of 14 in duels, both air and on the ground. And he had 4 clearances, 2 blocks, 5 picks, 5 total tackles, 1 dribble pass. So you're talking a handful of different defensive categories and showing up more than once in each of those categories. Bart Slisz was a maniac in this match in the midfield going up against Inter Miami.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the Bartosz Slisz discussion. I almost feel like we don't talk about him throughout the game. I feel like he's this silent assassin. Like, there's no way Inter Miami or any other team for that matter is like game planning of like, how do we get past Slisz? Like, that's not their mindset. And I think that obviously plays to his favor because he is that sort of a disrupting force. And you just gave the stats that showcase that. I feel like he's quiet every game. I feel like we bust his ass and runs a lot. We see the mileage total that he and Saba put up at the end. And then every once in a while, he gets into the attack and does what he does. Either a shot from range that threatens or gets into the air and puts one home like he did Saturday night. I feel like he actually is like one of the best kept secrets in the MLS, and from a team here in Atlanta United that had Nagbe, that kind of was a guy that teams would game plan around and know what a force Nagbe was in that defensive midfield spot. I think Slisch is kind of flying under the radar. And then now we recognize it. And I agree he's noticed by Atlanta United, but it just feels like no one's game planning around him. And maybe they should be. Maybe I shouldn't put that out there and give Orlando City any clues. But he's a problem for opposing teams. And when you paired him with the stellar job that Dax McCarty had done in this series as well. Those two guys paired up quite well, and they give you the opportunity to move Jay Fortune around, move Saba around, move Moranchuk around, and still feel pretty good defensively. But, look, there's no doubt about it. Like, we brought in Slisch with that group of incoming players, and he wasn't really the biggest name. He wasn't the guy that excited you the most. And I don't know if this is fair to say because I think Saba's in this discussion and there's some other guys. But, like, Bartosz Slisch really does feel like the heartbeat of this team a little bit. Maybe not from a vocal standpoint. At least as far as I can tell, certainly not from a vocal standpoint. But from what he does, what he gives on the field, he kind of does enter that discussion. And he's never asking for the acclamation, right? He just does what he does. And if people notice, great. And if they don't notice, all the same. But he's been outstanding. I know there's been a couple of bumpy spots for him this season. So it's been really nice to see him rebound and perform the way he's done. And again, I just, like I'm kind of saying, I hope everyone notices just how integral and important he is to what Atlanta United does moving forward, but also moving backwards.
There are those of us, and this is the last question I have for you, and thanks for coming on this morning. I know that we will promote what you're doing while you're multitasking here. When we would watch the NFL today in the old days, and you would always have Brent Musburger and Jimmy the Greek discussing, offense, defense, and they would give the check marks as to who had the advantage. They would always have that last category of intangibles. And then, that would be the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, how'd you do, trying to let the juice box folks know what direction to go with this match, with that particular game. There's an intangible here that I think applies to Atlanta United. And it's a common theme now involving this team, and it has to do with the idea of belief. And when you have someone tap you on the shoulder and sit there and go, I believe in you, I believe in what you're doing, just keep doing what we're doing, everything will be fine. We believe that you're going to, that everything's going to work itself out in the end. Having that kind of an intangible of belief, not just in yourself, but from those around you and from the staff, everything from game plan to implementation, having that kind of an intangible on this run of 5 of 6, on this run to get you into the Eastern Conference semifinals. I think that also speaks volumes when you have all of this positivity that is here at the right time of the season.
Well, there is that, but I also want to take it to a slightly different place. And we talked about like all the different guys that have scored goals in the last 6 games here. This is what's important about this team. And we talked about it in the Five Stripes Countdown on Saturday ahead of time. We don't know who's going to be the guy. We don't know who's going to step up. There are teams in the league. You look at Miami. There are players on that team who are looking at Messi and say, you need to do this for us, who are looking at Suarez and say, I'm waiting on you to equalize. There is none of that for Atlanta United. There is nobody on this team that's looking at another guy and say, all right, man, it's your time. Pick us up. We don't rely on any one player. I think that's important as to part of the intangibles as well. And part of the belief is really a lack of belief. You're not waiting on someone else to do the job. You go do the job yourself. And I think it all rounds itself into that same discussion. I mean, look, you use your last sub at the end of the game on Noah Cobb. What does he do? He comes in, he clears a ball off the line. A second ball comes in, he wins the header to clear it out of danger. Like these are guys that you're not counting on in key moments to make big plays. I think we've seen that from a guy like Pedro Amador at times. I think we've seen that from Jay Fortune, who stepped up in times. This was the first MLS start in what feels like 2 months for Tristan Moyamba. And I think he did admirably, especially considering he hadn't been in the flow of things. I mean, every guy is doing his role, his responsibility. No one's sitting there watching and waiting someone else to pick up this team. And I think that partially goes into that discussion of belief, is like they're all in it together. Like there's this true unit, like this true togetherness feeling for Atlanta United right now that we really don't see a lot of across the MLS. A lot of these teams are led by these premier goal scorers, and if you can get this guy the ball, then you can win games. But if that guy doesn't tally, you're in real trouble. Like we see that all the time in the MLS. That's not the approach for Atlanta United. And so between it's just us, the FEA stuff, like we're together, mixed with like before this game, and not that it maybe would have mattered, but like before this game, you saw the 2 seed go out. You saw the 3 seed go out. Like, why wouldn't there be reason for belief?
Yep.
You fared better than anyone else against Miami the entire course of the season. Like, why wouldn't you believe? Like you've been pretty good on the road in this stretch of 5 or 6 games. Like, there's nothing that should have said you have no business winning this game. No, I would argue it's the other way. You have every bit a reason to win this game. Again, it wasn't going to take a miracle. It was only going to take you to perform the way you performed, not just in 5 of your last 6, but just in general against Inter Miami all season long. So they should have had belief. They should have had confidence. They should have stuck together. They did. And it's been a great run that I hope continues in 2 weeks on a Sunday.
And in the interim, sir, you're kind of busy, and this is why we're talking now as opposed to talking later, and I mean that in the temporal sense. So what are you up to, sir, as I put my hands on my hips?
Yeah, I'm hosting right now on the Steakhouse 9 to 11 on 92.9 The Game. You can also catch me Wednesday night on 92.9 The Game, and then a couple different shows on the weekend. And then certainly next week we're going to be back on Sunday, the 24th. It just happens to be a nice little Sunday for Atlanta because it is the bye week for the Atlanta Falcons. So we will have business as usual on 92.9 The Game. Kickoff at 3:30 on the 24th. Five Stripes Countdown will be at 2:30. So we'll be rocking and ready to go.
As always, my friend, great to see you. Have a good steakhouse. May it be medium rare. Are you a medium guy? How do you play this?
Not medium. I normally order medium rare unless I don't trust the chef. Then I'll order rare expecting medium rare. It's a whole thing.
Absolutely true. So he's medium rare. I'm medium rare, but actually he's Abe. I'm John. More show coming up after we run a fancy open like this. That's the beauty of doing things in a tape manner. That's Abe. And so Abe batted leadoff, bats leadoff, batted, whatever it was. So it's always great to have Abe on to kick things off here on a Reaction Monday. John, hear you there. I know a lot of you have been in the comments talking about your experience from the weekend. Bart's going to join us in a half an hour because we've got reffing down here and a reffing down here moment and getting into temperature and being a man in the middle in these kinds of things, having to do with a match like Inter Miami and Atlanta United. So we'll go over reffing and Messi and friends. We've got the USMNT. We've got 3 friendlies. The U.S., our friends at Soccer for US POD have episode 101. So it's Soccer for US POD 101. So he has now gone into freshman level Soccer for US POD. And that's going to be on the network later today. Also later today, we catch up with the new technical director of Chattanooga FC because they now also have a new women's coach at Chattanooga FC. So that'll be up. The technical director interview will be up later today as well, and then we'll catch up with them later in the week when it comes to their new head coach. So hi, and glad that you guys are off and running with conversation. as you always are. And it's great to see all of you come in here this morning after what happened on the weekend. So since we're officially, I guess, in a no dilly, no dally zone, why don't we run some highlights and get you ready for everything. Once again, all these highlights courtesy of 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app will take you through all the goals and all of the post game. Post game is Rob. It is Brad. It is Jamal with help from Quentin Westberg and Dax McCarty. We'll get to that coming up on the other side. So let's take you through what happened in the match. We get to relive it all right now. It was an even. It took about 10 minutes for Atlanta United to get into the rhythm of the match. They had a chance in the 15th. Amador off the post. Jamal couldn't close it off. Callender gets there first. 2 minutes later, Inter Miami gets the 1-0 lead on this play. Once again, courtesy of 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Gomez to the left side of the 18, dribbles into the box. Here's his cutback cross to Messi. Shot, saved, Guzan. Diving to his left, rebound, score! Rojas. And for the third time in the Inter Miami takes the 1-0 lead.
So they take a 1-0 lead, but that didn't last very long because Jamal Tiare was very, very busy in the first half. So down 1-0, we take you to late in the teens, minutes-wise, and Jamal gets Atlanta United on the board to draw things even at 1.
At center spot, here is Williams now. Rolling it down the middle to McCarty. McCarty, a deflected ball ahead to TRA at the penalty spot. Shot, score! They won't quit. They won't die. No matter how many times you try to kill them, no matter how much adversity you throw at them, they're not going away. It's 1-1 less than 2 minutes after they concede.
So less than 2 minutes after they concede, they were down a goal. 4 minutes, less than 4 minutes after they conceded, because Jamal did it again.
And Martinez will give it away to Ronald Hernandez. Flicked ahead to Schleich, to McCarty. Pot down the middle, Moranchuk onside behind the defense. Moranchuk to TRA. Shot! Score! 2 goals in less than 2 minutes! Atlanta United leads!
I'm wondering, and I'll save my thought for after the highlights, but I've got a thought, and I'm going to hang on to it for a second. Okay, so 2-1 at the break. Atlanta United and Messi and friends, they have some second-half substitutions. Takes us to the 65th minute, and a moment that has 2 separate elements to it. This is the first half of the element. The second half of the element we will discuss when Bart comes in after top of the hour, because it goes to a larger picture. But here is the equalizer on the cutback, the dreaded cutback cross. Gee, Messi and friends have never scored like that before, but this time Messi was the one that was inside the 6.
The throw was intercepted by Miami and chopped down the middle to Suarez. Now it pinballs to Messi at the top of the arc. He spins around Amador to Suarez, rolled back through. Here's a cross by Weigand to the back post, header score.
Catches me in mid-sip. Okay, so 2-2 at that point. That's the first half of that play. The second half of that play, we're going to talk about coming up in 25 minutes, because there's a lot to digest there. And if there was ever a reffing down here moment that we needed to get into to reinforce what we've already seen multiple times over, it will be the second half of this play with Mike and Jason coming up after 10 o'clock. So 2-2, and then you end up with the game winner. And by the way, thanks to all of you who have reached out as our staff photographer. Sophia Cupertino. Sophia has been on an absolute roll this year. And it's been fun to see her imagination go. There's a photo that we have that we released as a part of the photo array from what Sophia shot down in Fort Lauderdale. And it is of this moment. And it is a fantastic shot. Sophia has a lot of great shots so far this season, and this is definitely one of them. And considering the context of the moment, considering what was going down at the time, keeping your head about you as everyone around you is losing their minds. 3-2 in a car crash because you had Jamal Tiare go down. Jamal was fouled. So Jamal is fouled, play advantage, coming back the other way. Then, for some unknown reason, Tomas Aviles, inside the 18, no one within a couple of yards around him, beat 2, 3, 4, goes down. Inter Miami players are looking for a stoppage. And this is another point that we'll get into with Bart, having to do with injuries and man advantage and all of these kinds of things. It is not incumbent upon the team who has possession of the ball to stop. If you're feeling sportsmanshipy, sure, you don't have to. Atlanta United did not. Inter Miami players were raging before and after and during. And this moment happened to make it 3-2 with about 15 minutes to go. Once again, courtesy of 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app.
Tiare is down behind the play. A Miami player down as it's rolled back to Hernandez. Cross the back post. Saba, it's over his head. It's going to roll to the left side of the 18. Amador's got it. Pitches to the back post. Header! 10, it's a goal! He scores! He scores! He scores!
Mm-hmm. And you had Bart Sleesh, and we went over his numbers in Abe's segment, where the silent assassin, and that might actually stick. The silent assassin, Bartosz Sleesh, with the header, and Sophia nailed it. She really did. Mike and Jason were absolutely just amazing in their calls on this match. And, from our perspective, thanks to all of you who've recognized what Sophia's been doing. But Sophia captured a moment. Atlanta United got a 3-2 lead, had to hang on for 15 minutes plus 7. Sure. Okay. So 22 minutes of hanging on, including a late substitution that you guys had discussed with Noah Cobb coming in and shutting it down. And here's the ending. Here's the ending of the game. Once again, Mike and Jason, courtesy of 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Into the near corner. Amador trying to run it down. That's it! They blow for full time! They blow for full time! Atlanta United has pulled the greatest upset in the history of Major League Soccer! They have knocked out Messi! They have knocked out Miami! Atlanta United is going to the conference semifinals!
I am hoping that Mike did not say a word to anyone and stayed in bed as long as humanly possible when the flight got home very, very early on Sunday morning. Jason, I know, went with Jess up to Cullowhee, North Carolina for the SoCon Women's Championship. Jess and Jason called that on ESPN+. So I'm hoping that today is the day where Jason says nothing, sleeps late, and maybe enjoys a chelada. So 3-2 at a plus 731. Atlanta United gets the Duke. They advance 2 weeks' time. Well, first off, you get the international break. Then 2 weeks' time, 3:30 Sunday afternoon, the 24th. So my guess is that you're going to have the super hyper mega pregame show to get you to 3:50, kickoff at 3:50, off the air at 6, and there you go. So my guess is that it's going to be on both Apple TV and on Big FOX. That's my gut. That's what my gut says at the moment as I sit and click on it. No TV notifications as of yet on the particular matchup. It says on the website 3:30. I'm not holding my breath. So the double headers on Saturday the 23rd, Hudson River, Saturday 5:30 Eastern, NYC and Red Bulls at a stadium of NYC's choosing or availability, I guess. And as of right now, it's listed at Citi Field. After that, at 10:30, LAFC hosting Seattle. Then Sunday, it's 3:30 and 6. Atlanta and the purple team, 3:30. and LAG hosting Minnesota at 6 o'clock. Those are your times listed. So my guess is after 5:30s and 10:30s, 5:30 probably means 5:50. That gets you into prime time, and you're out by 8. If you're big FOX and you're simulcasting this, like I said, this is just my guess. And then 10:30 being 10:40, it's going to be on Apple, and maybe you get a late game on FS1. I don't know. But Purple Team and Atlanta, 3:30 Sunday afternoon, the 24th, probably means 3:50 off the air by 6 on Big FOX. And then at 6 o'clock, LAG and Minnesota. So that's the rundown of who's playing what, where, and when in the final 4 matchups involving teams in the MLS Cup playoffs. 6 and 7 in the West. 6 and 7 in the East. 4 and 9 in the East. 1, 2, 4, and 6 in the Western Conference. Obviously, we'll catch up with Nico Moreno on Thursday, get his thoughts on what's been going on out in the Western Conference. See if we can catch up with the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, and find out what he thinks about Hudson River on the 23rd, and we'll lay it all out for you there. So that's your highlights, brought to us once again by our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Now, after the match was over, got the chance to catch up with some folks in a very, very small room. Here's Rob Valentino when he was asked about this particular run, and could he explain it?
I'd love to say something fancy and like I'm a tactical genius or something like that, but I'm not, and that's not the way I coach. So just been talking about all along internal belief, fighting and sticking together. We've made obviously little tweaks, and we've done certain things to try to win each game and done something a little bit different every time, and there's been different players called upon, but that was the big message, is like we have to do this together. It's not going to be one player that's just going to carry us, and that's not an underlying tone to anybody else. It's just the fact of, like, I tell this group that you have to do this together, and you can't have passengers. So whatever shape we play, whatever tactics we give them, it's going to have to be everybody in it together. And you could see that, like, they really believe that they can do something. So, it wasn't pretty at times. And if you would have told me that three goals in a row, I probably would have said you're lying. But yeah, they've got some internal belief right now.
So internal belief, you're going to hear that as a recurring theme through all of these. When it came to what you're seeing right now with Atlanta United. So that's Rob Valentino after the match. Then next up was Brad, and Brad came in, and he was asked about the idea of this internal belief, and here's what Brad said after the match.
The last couple of weeks, there's something special. There's something special in the group. There's something special in the locker room, and what that thing is belief, is confidence, is desire to help the group. And when you have those things, the margins are fine, right? Like, obviously they have a very good team with very good individuals who are extremely talented, best player in the world, and so we don't have that. And so how do we make up the difference? And we make that up with working for each other and defending and doing hard running and tackling. And when you do things like that, you're able to give yourself an opportunity. And tonight we're able to take those chances and finish it off in regulation time.
Finish it off at regulation time at a plus 731. Brad Gazan after the match with Atlanta United and Messi and friends. And then Jamal Tiare scored the brace in 2 minutes, was asked if there was a particular moment when, and it was the question from Doug Robertson of the AJC mentioned how it was a very frustrating year, and what it's been like now to have all of this activity going on and all of this success happening. And Quentin Westberg was there for Jamal to translate. So what you'll hear is Doug, you'll hear the voices, you'll hear Doug, you'll hear Jamal, and you'll hear Quentin Westberg discussing everything that's been going on with Jamal and with the team over the last handful of weeks. And so here's Jamal Tiare after the match, along with Doug Robertson of the AJC and Quentin Westberg.
Basically, yes, everyone held each other accountable. When we were basically back against our walls, we didn't want to finish the season like this. So it was in training. It was through effort, but it was really something that the group discovered along the lines of the last few games, and something great is igniting from all of this.
Was there a moment, a goal that happened?
Est-ce qu'il y a eu un moment précis qui a, à ton avis, provoqué ce changement?
Non, il n'y a pas de moment précis. C'était un peu dur dans les têtes, mais on est des professionnels et il fallait une réaction. Donc on a su réagir et de la belle des manières.
We had to react. We're professional soccer players, so it was basically our duty to react and to do better, and we have.
And they have, indeed. So that's Doug Robertson, Jamal Thierry, Quentin Westberg helping out with translation of question and answer for everybody there in the room. And so that leads us to Dax McCarty. And Dax, in addition to this soundbite that you're going to hear, mentioned, and he said he kind of detests he hates using the word fairy tale, but that's how it seems to be unrolling at the moment. So here's Dax McCarty after the match discussing everything that's been going on as well. Dax McCarty in a very small room at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale.
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, honestly. I think it's resilience. I think it's confidence. I think it's grit. I think it's suffering and accepting that you're going to suffer against good teams in this league. And if you can do that, and if you can bend, don't break, then you can be successful. And as a team, listen, it's been very up and down, very inconsistent throughout the whole season. And right now, all I can say is that we've just found something. And it's hard for me to describe what that is because you can't quite put your finger on it, really. It's some combination of all those things, and it's some combination of we're just playing like we have nothing to lose. We've been playing essentially knockout games that could potentially end our season for a month. And so a lot of teams could fold in that situation, but for whatever reason, we're rising to the occasion. And tonight is just such a great example of that and such a fantastic reward for the hard work of so many people. And I'm really pleased for everyone.
Dax McCarty. So that's your post game that's a piece of your post game from a very late night in Fort Lauderdale. And once again, it was great to see the 17s that were there. And thanks for all of them for opening their arms and letting us wander over with a camera and catch up with me and Maddie and Jason before we went inside. And hopefully all of you got home safely. I see that Abby did with her responses that we have. Apparently she spent all day yesterday driving to get from Fort Lauderdale and the Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport environment back up here to this particular part of the planet. So great to see everybody. Glad you all were there. Fantastic moment for Atlanta United to see all of the fans there for Messi and friends. The way that it worked is that they have a very small press box. Not necessarily a surprise, considering it's supposed to be a temporary-ish kind of a building for them before they go over to Melreese and build Freedom Park. But there was what they referred to as the press tribunal, 2 rows of seats, basically. And that was where they had me, and that was where they had another, say, 15 to 20 of us. We were over in those 2 rows of seats. And it was, if you were watching the broadcast at any point, camera left, even with the goal line, was where they had us watching the match outside. And it was a unique experience because you're right up against all those Inter Miami fans and seeing them going through all of the ups and downs of everything and looking at all of the activity. But no, it was an interesting experience. And if you saw the one picture that I took on social media, you got to see my position from where I was seated, from where I was in relation to Fort Lauderdale proper. So it was, like I said, it was a great environment. And Atlanta United moves on to plus 731, and they get 2 weeks to think about the purple team, the team that they have beaten in recent times. And then the winner of that one gets the winner of Hudson River. And it could be NYC at Yankee Stadium, Citi Field, or Red Bull Arena. And it could be Red Bull at Red Bull Arena. So we'll see what happens there. But Atlanta United on the road for the rest of it. And it was a great experience. And thanks to all of you that we got to see, we got to hang out with. And thanks to all of you who have said what you've said on social media about everything that we've been doing on the network. And so we ain't stopping by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a fun road trip. We all got home either very, very early Sunday morning, later Sunday morning, or in my case, middle of the afternoon when it was raining. And so you're having to come from 34,000 feet through all that rain. And it was intriguing, to say the very least. The approach to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, very, very, how do we say this? Bumpy. There we go. All right, let's take a peek and see who's here this morning. And great to see all of you guys talking on a Reaction Monday as you do. Morning 4 card. David, good morning. Do you believe in unlikelihoods? Well, I mean, we talked about it, David, with unlikelihoods. It took a team to be very stout defensively and clog the middle and force everything coming in from the edges, making sure that Lionel Messi had 2, if not 3 guys keeping an eye on him. There was a time after the substitutions in the 60s where you could see that Danny Higginbotham made this point on the broadcast about where the center backs were a little too far apart, and Messi there were a couple of pop-ups over the back line, a couple of chances for Messi and friends that weren't closed down on, but they got their sea legs. And then Noah Cobb, I know that you guys have mentioned in the Twitch pitch the idea of Noah Cobb coming in late for Miranchuk to shut it down. And you see when Noah comes in for 5 minutes, Noah's mentioning, first thing you see Noah goes 3 at the back, and he's directing a little traffic. So Noah came in for some reinforcements and did really well as well in his cup of coffee. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. And to David's point, David was mentioning Tech in Miami, Atlanta United, Miami. Like I said, I thought the entire state of Florida went 0 for 11. I think everybody lost in the state of Florida. Like colleges, like USF, UCF, FAU, FIU, Messi and friends. Literally, it was like 0 and 11. Someone had done the statistic. It was not a successful weekend for sports teams and or franchises in the state of Florida. Morning, Katie. And morning 4 card. Look in the sky. Bird at the plane. It's Bartek, man. More of that in a bit. Shooter. Good to see you, Shooter. It's been entirely too long, and I know that you're having to sort through everything going on with the Revs. This is the one that I'll post. Shooter says, congrats. Thank you from America for beating that rat bastard Miami team. Take the cup. And then Shooter had comments for both Messi and friends and for Richie Williams that I'm not going to put on the drive. But you guys can see it in the Twitch pitch. Morning, Abby. Abby's still recouping from the drive home yesterday from FLL. David, without Busquets, Tata needed an Eric Remedi to shut down the Atlanta attack. They had no such person. They really didn't. And like I said, when you have folks that are injured and you're trying to reorient what your lineup is going to look like and having folks in unfamiliar places doing unfamiliar things, you're going to be able to, you have to take advantage of it, and you do. So then there was the moment where Shande nutmegged Sergi Busquets, and then shortly after that, Busquets knocks Shande down and got a yellow. Far too late for everything. By the way, speaking of yellow cards and reffing down here, Bart apparently is stuck at work, so we're going to have to go through the moments ourselves, and we will. And there's also a disturbing story involving David Coote, one of the officials in England and the PGMOL. We'll go over that piece of news today as well. And it's a piece of tape. And when you tell folks that tape, that can't go, you can't go public, guess what? It went public. So we have news involving refs as well as reffing down here. Morning, Harry. Great Monday. Enter Messi is out. And yes, and John and April live. Absolutely. Thank you. Abby, Arthur was into it all game. Absolutely true. And to see Arthur in the locker room and sipping on a Michelob, was it a Mick Ultra? I mean, hey. And the thing is, and then after that, Arthur goes to New Orleans for the Falcons and the Saints. So the man was busy. Man was busy this weekend. And to Harry's point, Lou City and Inter Miami out on the same night was just crazy. Yeah, Lou City gone. And that means that Rhode Island advances to the Eastern Conference Final. We'll see if we can check in with Cano Smith again, considering last time we checked in with him, they won. So maybe Cano Smith, we'll see if he is a creature of habit. And we'll see if Cano can rejoin us again this week. We'll check in with our folks at RAFC. Katie Weaver, Suarez trying to draw cards from every member of the team was frustration or just Suarezing? I think it was Suarezing. I have to remember. Like I told Katie, I said, I think I have to remember that one. That it was Suarezing. And so you had, yes, every member of the team, he was trying to figure out who he could, maybe push a button and get a card or something like that, especially when the cards started and the fouls and the whistles started going against Messi and friends. So it was intriguing, to say the very least. So, and then you had the clearance off the line late involving Stian Gregerson.
Say his name and he appears.
Yeah, I believe in Big Stian. Clap, clap. So there you go. Also in the comments this morning, not a surprise, Abby, Suarez was a schmuck. I wanted him to get tossed with his mouth. I'll go through the comments, and then we'll go to that particular moment to start things off with reffing down here. I'll kind of freelance reffing down here this morning. So Will is saying that, morning Will, say they missed some too, not on shots, messing up one-on-ones on the break a few times late. Yeah, and that, you're trying to press and you're trying to, meaning not in the sense of defensive pressing, but you're trying to sit there and push the action forward. And so there were a couple of angles that were taken that were off, and they were also pretty gassed at that point too, especially Saba. Derek, United sent the zombie packing. And so Abby said many fans said congrats to him, but unfortunately someone stole the brick wall banner. That's not cool. That is definitely not cool. I mean, come on. So someone stole the brick banner? And yeah, you will be making another one. Yeah, Noah Cobb coming in for the final 15, not final 5. And Katie's saying ATL playing hunker down, booted out of there. Canton soccer dads loved it. Yeah, 41 clearances. I didn't realize that until I was looking back at the numbers. We'll look back at the numbers too. But yeah, I did not realize that it was 41 clearances on the day. Yep, hit the bar. Should have had another couple of goals. Derek was initially skeptical of the Noah Cobb substitution. I watched the final. Abby's going to rewatch the match today. I watched the final 35 minutes last night. And so it was fun because, all of the chaos that got you to 2-2, and that was when I wanted to start rewatching the match, was at 2-2 in the incident, and then everything else from there going forward. Abby posted Miami didn't lose because of the format, lost because they can't defend in transition, haven't been able to all year, and that's true. Lost because Guzan was a monster, true. Messi and company couldn't figure him out. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that you couldn't figure Brad out. I think it's more Brad figured them out and could anticipate where angles were and he needed to be and was directing traffic and set pieces and having everything lined up the way it was supposed to. I think it was more Atlanta United figuring out Messi and friends than it was Messi and friends not being able to figure it out. Lost because the game's played on the field and not on paper, which is also true. And I think that also you were dealing in a best-of-3 situation as opposed to a one-and-done, where you can adjust to tactics, you can adjust to roster, you can adjust to availability and who's not available and all those kinds of things. So that's what you're looking at in a best-of-3, in addition to giving it more TV inventory in a situation like that. So for me, it was looking at it where it's a best-of-3 and you can adjust. Okay, how is life without Sergi Busquets? How is life without Yannick Bright? How is life without David Ruiz? What do you have to do? Then Tata having to adjust to not having those individuals and not having Sergi Busquets and not having him in a game 2, and then you can only have him for limited activity in a game 3. Having folks out of position, playing out of position, Atlanta United taking advantage of it. So partially true to what Taylor Tolman was saying on Twitter, but there are some things there that are a little not 100% right there. Great regular season, but the format isn't why they lost. Lost because they weren't the better team in 2 of the 3 games, and the team 34 points fewer than they did. So Commando says, in Morning Commando, Tony from PTI, Tony Kornheiser, who personifies angry gentlemen. Miami lost MLS playoffs would be, if Miami lost, MLS playoffs would be irrelevant because no one would watch because no Messi, oh boy, is he wrong. You got chaos in the Eastern Conference, and you've got 2 incredible squads in Los Angeles in the Western Conference. And I'm fairly certain on some levels if folks could sit there and go, hey, why don't we reseed? We're down to the final 8. Let's reseed. Oh, an LA Galaxy LAFC final? That'd be great. You get something like that. 1-for-1 in the air was big, Will. It absolutely was. And yeah, Emilio, I don't know. Emilio's got a question about finishing and not about Valentino. Then is it Valentino making the difference? I don't know. That's probably more of a player's question than it is anything else. Tommy's 2-day hangover was well worth it. And Katie Weaver, Sleesh has been a beast lately. Love seeing him just push Messi around in Atlanta. The run he made with the ball Saturday east to west to retain possession when Miami was trying to press. Absolutely. Yes, Abby. Everyone except Messi and friends and Garber is pleased with the outcome. Yeah, and Abby is right because we went to when we went to the tailgate, it was one of 2 things. You're playing with house money, or it's like, look, they can be had. And some folks were feeling both. It's like, look, you've had a great run. You've won 4 of 5. You're taking the top seed in the record setters to game 3 in a 3-game series. So it's been a great run. Whatever happens, happens. You put it all out there and see what your game plan gives you. And in this case, the game plan gave you a 3-2 win in a game where you didn't quit. You kept coming. Like the Terminator. It absolutely will not stop. That reminds me, I probably should pull that speech. Will says, for as bad as the season feels, officially a win of a season now. Love Rob, but he can't be the answer long term. Pars, I don't know. Well, I do know, but I don't know. Pars, okay, so since Pars asked this question, we'll go ahead and talk about it since we're past 9 o'clock. All right. Pars asks, why didn't the ref issue cards for the incident with Brad? And this was after the goal that tied it at 2. And this is how Mike and Jason called the match in that particular moment. So here's how it went down. And here is the Leo Campana incident. We'll call it that. Here's how it happened. Goal has been scored. It's 2-2. Here's what happened after.
It's across by Wagan to the back post, header score. It's the little guy.
Brad Gazan got thrown into his own goal.
Yes, he did. Now,
unbelievable.
It's after the goal. The goal will count by Messi. Will there be a red card in that because Brad was trying to get the ball and he was thrown into his net?
There better be a red card because Brad Gazan got thrown into his goal. And if that happened the other way, Atlanta would be playing with Dan.
He's going chest to chest with Lucas Spalla. Spalla now going forehead to forehead into Brad Gazan. This will do nothing to negate the goal, but should there be a red card in that for violent conduct? It's Messi's first goal of the playoffs. It's a well-placed header to equalize it, too. But Brad should be furious.
Messi runs into Brad trying to get the ball. That's not it. It's the second one from Campana, who just shoves Brad Gazan into the back of the goal, and he's going to get away with it because he's wearing a pink shirt.
He won't even get a yellow card.
Unbelievable.
92.9 the game in the Odyssey app. And that was a joke. It was ridiculous. And if there is Yeah, and Alex, Jason was apoplectic. That's the word to use. When you're in a heated match, you score a game-tying goal. Messi going in to try and grab the ball, fine, I get it. You're trying to get another goal, I get that. But Leo Campana coming in after the ball has been taken, I believe. I think the ball ended up, I think Messi ended up with the ball leaving the net. The fact that Leo Campana pushes Brad Guzan into the netting was ridiculous in and of itself. Then, and I give Brad full credit for knowing the elasticity of the nets. So Brad literally is pushed from behind by Leo Campana. He turns, bounces in with his back into the netting, and comes back to his feet. And Campana basically pushes and goes away. Gets the push, slams Brad into the rear netting, then walks away out of the goal mouth. Luis Suarez then decides that he wants to start woofing with Brad. And that goes for a little bit. Luis Suarez, who never met a dive attempt or a complaining opportunity that he didn't like, he goes after Brad. And Brad basically starts laughing at Luis Suarez. Because Luis Suarez is Suarezing, as Katie Weaver says. And we now have a new meme involving Brad and Luis Suarez, and feel free to use it as you see fit. But the idea that you would have anything like that, and Alex, to your point, I imagine that that's what they're thinking, is that in the clattering inside the net as Messi was trying to grab the ball, that Campana thought he saw contact with Brad and Messi and he's going to defend his player, whatever. I'm sure that was probably what was running through his mind. But the fact that you don't do that, you don't do what Campana did to Brad inside the goal in and of itself. You push a keeper from behind, and then Luis Suarez comes in and wants to come in for the trash-talking save. But basically, Brad laughing at Luis Suarez was another one of the moments of this series. Campana, once again, no card, no real shock. Then there's another play that you guys reference in the timeline where Abby mentions that Messi dove later in the game. They were trying to do anything to get calls. And literally, and that play happened. And this goes, if you guys want to go back and watch, like I said, I started watching in like the 60th minute just so I could see the equalizer and then see what happened in the goal and then see the rest of the match and everything. And Bart, if you're listening, feel free to comment in the Twitch pitch about this and the moment that I'm going to bring up in a bit, where you have all of this kind of physical activity with a keeper. Should have been a red card. It wasn't. Should have been a yellow card at the very least. And the fact that Campana got no card will continue to reinforce the theory that it is Messi and friends getting Jordan rules, and then everybody else, you're on your own, and we're going to clamp down on you for breathing funny. So to Abby's point, later on in the match, as Atlanta United was defending with a 1-goal lead, I want to say it was Federico Redondo. Redondo clears out Jay Fortune, and I mean it was a full forearm to the back. Redondo, I want to say, he was the one who cleans out Jay Fortune. Anyway, Jay gets cleaned out. Miami wins possession back. And then Lionel Messi, who does not dive, because there were incidents earlier in the match where he was getting his heels clicked and he just kept the engine running and he was trying to sprint past and get a shot on target. He falls down on the softest of contacts, and Lucas Sapala gives the whistle. Lucas Sapala did not have a good game. Or depending on who you talk to, he managed it the way that he was supposed to. If you're consistent in not blowing whistles, that's fine. If you're consistent in blowing whistles, trying to keep a tight ship, that's fine. But the fact that you don't want to blow whistles on egregious fouls and not address simulation, which is another incident from Suarez, I want to say inside the 18, when he was on offense in the first half, then once again, you are going to continue to raise the people's eyebrow about how the folks in the yellow jerseys manage these matches and manage matches of import. So you had those moments, but the fact that Redondo, and then I think Redondo went down anyway. So Redondo cleans out Jay Fortune, no call. Messi whistle. Messi's like, better call, and so then you see him kind of crumple, and you get a call. Then the other match, you end up the other play that I was trying to reference has to do with the third goal for Atlanta United. And Jamal goes down and you hear Mike at the beginning of the play. We'll play it again. Here's goal number 3. Once again, 92-9 the game in the Odyssey app.
Thierry is down behind the play. A Miami player down as it's rolled back to Hernandez. Crossing back to Saba. It's over his head. It's going to roll to the left side of the 18. Amador's got it. Pitches to the back post. Header! 10, it's a goal! He scores! He scores!
Okay, so Bart scores. So Jamal goes down. Zapala plays advantage. Atlanta comes down from right to left. And here comes Jarrett, just in time for reffing down here. Hey, Jarrett.
Hey.
We're in the reffing down here segment where we're discussing the red card that should have been on Campana that wasn't.
Has Bart been by yet? Do you know about this?
Bart knows about it, but he is working today. So we get to espouse our own opinions, and Bart will have to be resigned to comment on the Twitch bit.
Okay. You could have called it a red. I would have taken a yellow.
Yeah, call something, man.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where the behavior and the lack of punishment is only going to fuel people being more critical of the league and the officiating towards a team that they already perceive as getting an advantage,
Yes, Jordan rules. Yes, sir.
Because, yes, the behind the goal angle is a really good one where, like, it goes in, Brad picks it up, and, Brad's going to stall it. Messi bumps into him, takes the ball from him. It's actually a good little poke by Messi to take it out of his hands. It's a good little basketball poke.
Yeah.
And Brad, reacts for a minute, but then he's not going to, rip it away and start another fight at the risk of, causing, a yellow card, because you might need that yellow card from Brad late in the game.
Yep.
And he just seems like he's kind of, at that point, Messi walks away, and it just seems like it's done. And then, Campana comes up with the two-handed shove in the back, and then Campana just turns and runs away, and then Suarez just comes in and makes everything worse for everybody. Man. And then Brad does a reverse worm to get out of the goal mouth.
Yeah, it was a great spin move and bounce back. That was good.
Yeah. Because there's when you're back in a goal, when you're back on a net like that, there's nothing really to pick yourself up with. There's no if you've ever been stuck in a ball pit or a pit of foam.
Yep.
At a trampoline place. Not that I've expected you to go to a trampoline place, John.
Yes. Dave and Buster's,
But if you're ever in a foam pit, there's no way to get out. There's nothing to grab onto because everything is fluid around you. It kind of looked like that. And then he just kind of sprung back up. The anger, I guess, fueled him. And then Suarez just kind of runs away the second Brad gets up, which doesn't help his argument. Although I will say, someone pointed out, there's something respectable about Luis Suarez 20 years into his career, not trying to win over popularity votes late in his career, being the same bag of dicks that he was day one.
Absolutely true. So it was, so you had that moment. And then the other moment that I was just getting into was goal number 3, where Jamal is down. Sapala plays advantage. Atlanta comes down, and they are working in the edge of the 18, and they're working from post to post. For some reason, Tomas Aviles just drops. No one's around him inside the 18. Tomas Aviles decides he needs to lay down on his back. You have the hue and cry of 20,000 folks seeing Aviles down. Atlanta United continues to play on, and that eventually ends up in goal number 3. You don't have to stop. You play to the whistle. There was no whistle. You could be, if depending on the situation and the energy attached, you can kick the ball out of bounds if you want. But in a 2-2 game, in a decider, in a playoff series, you ain't going to be neighborly about it. And you had 20,000 people screaming that Tomas Aviles was down and that you needed to stop. You didn't stop. Bart Sleesh turns into a Boeing 757 or an F-16 Tomcat and punches it in the back of the net, and it's 3-2. Reminder, you don't have to stop if there ain't no whistle. And I think that was
you
lost.
Play to the whistle.
Yeah.
No, you 100%. You play to the whistle in that situation.
Yes, you play to the whistle in that situation. And ain't no whistle. And Bart Sleesh goes airborne, and his sortie responds with a goal to the back of the net to make it 3-2 at that point. So that's the one thing that folks need to remember. And there were other incidents in the series where you could have done something and you didn't. So those were the two largest things that were that were attached to all of it. So once again, play to the whistle. You ain't playing to the whistle. David, I didn't see an ambulance come out to take Aviles off. I mean, I was sitting there and I didn't see an ambulance. I didn't see one. So, I mean, I don't know, but the larger question is there was no the larger statement. There was no whistle, and you can play to the whistle or you can kick it out and be and be neighborly about it or what have you. I think the real world's intervening with Jarrett this morning as well. So Jarrett will drift in and drift out, but I did not see an ambulance take Aviles off the field. All right, so let's see what else is going on with everyone in the Twitch pitch. But yes, Storm Bobby Dodd, UGA lost, Atlanta United won. There you go. Tommy apparently is still in hangover mode, I'm guessing. Let's see. Morning, Will. Morning, Will. Morning, Abby. Let's see. Morning, Pars. Yeah, Hutch. Guzan's almost total stoning of Messi over 3 games was just amazing. Yeah, and that's just reading him and not giving Messi a lot of options and space. You force him into either using his imagination or using power to get through walls and trying to hit corners and things like that. You had Messi and his lanes limited, so he was easier to track and easier for the ball to be found. So Abby, I did not see in the playoff ads that there was no Atlanta United shirt or logo. Yes, and Derek, Mike is in fact a legend. Man, Mike Conti is a legend. Like I said, I'm sincerely hoping that yesterday he slept in and that he had nothing but hot tea and ice cream. I'm sure he had to get back to it today at 92.9 Studios, but just hopefully yesterday he slept in most of the day or didn't do much of anything. So,
sorry about that. Someone actually called me with a wrong number. Like,
oh wow,
mid 90s, where they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong number." Like, I didn't know people still did that.
Wow.
Yeah, right. To the point before I was so rudely cut off by a phone call.
I know, really.
Yeah, like you go back and watch that. Like Aviles, first of all, yeah, he just lays down, which is very funny because I think it was Sophia was telling us when she was shooting on the sidelines that early in the game when Jamal went down, she could hear Dax yelling at him to get up.
Yes,
to get up.
Yes,
this is no time for laying on the ground.
Correct.
But man, like it's you can't just lay down there. And then he's like he's cramping up, which makes sense. It's hot, it's tiring, it's an intense physical game. I don't blame anybody for cramping up. I thought it was hilarious when he kind of like went to grabbing his head as if he was trying to sell it as a head injury and forced the stoppage.
Yeah.
Which made it even funnier when the referee was like,
No.
I saw you lay down. We're not doing this.
No.
And it's to Atlanta's discretion to play the ball out. They choose not to. And if you're Miami, you can be mad about that. There's no hard and fast rule about it. There isn't like there's kind of like unwritten rules in a sense, but also not really.
Yeah.
And you can see Pedro Amador kind of look at the ref like, we're still doing this, right?
Yeah.
The ref doesn't respond. He's like, cool.
2, 3, and
and then he just yeets that ball into the box. And man, Bart Sleesh makes that run from probably 25 or 30 yards.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect ball. It's a perfect run. It's just a slam dunk header. Miami quit playing.
Yeah.
And you can't. You can be as delusional and as bitter and as irrationally upset as you want, but you can't quit playing. And to Alex's point about styles, look, Tata was super pragmatic in the playoffs when he was here in 18.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't wide open. He couldn't do that with this Miami team. They can't defend. And we told you last week they can't defend. They got a 1-goal lead. I wish I had screenshotted my Twitter feed at the 1-goal lead because I had a lot of receipts to post for a lot of people in this community who like to fancy themselves influencers when things are good and like to shit on everything when things are bad. But a minute after they take a lead, you responded, and Jamal was brilliant for 2 quick moments there, and that was magical. But yeah, then it just kind of felt like after that third goal though, like that. I don't know how serious it was in my brain now that I would go back and look at it, like how realistic was the threat for Miami? Like, yeah, they're going to threaten your goal, but like, man, that took like that entire sequence just seemed to take a lot of wind out of their sails, and also cut the sails in the process.
Yeah, I mean, it was a car crash, and you came out the bad end of the car crash. This was not the Volvo commercial for you.
Yeah. And it's like, and like I said, I mean, I feel bad for Obelisk because I think he was like cramping up to the point of like he couldn't. And if you've ever had like a really bad cramp,
oh man,
you just would sooner cut off your leg. Like, because at least that's a different pain, and maybe the shock can take over that pain.
Yeah.
But he does come off right after that. It's not like he just laid down to fake it.
Yep.
He does come off. But man, like it's easy for us to say like he has to get up, he's got to do that. But yeah, like that wasn't nearly as bad as like the fact that it just the fact that they quit playing.
Yeah.
They spent more time yelling at the ref, and you can't I understand you're mad about it if you're Miami. You might think it's classless. Also, the one Tata compared it to were not the same situations.
Yes.
like when the one Tata's talking about is I think is if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's the one where like there was a player down, but it wasn't like in the box in a heavy attacking sequence like where you had numbers. There's different layers to it, but it's the attacking team's discretion.
Yeah.
You gotta deal with it, get it out. And like if you're Miami, you can't switch off. You have to stay switched on and kind of pissed off, to be honest. Head that ball over. Like if you got to go out there, like if you're that nervous about it, if you gotta bring somebody down outside the box, like do something to stop play.
Yeah.
Head it out. Do whatever you got to do. Commit a foul. And then go crowd the referee and yell at him, and then start something with Atlanta. And I think that would have been fair.
Yeah.
think that would have been like the appropriate response to things. But man, yeah, it was. There were layers to that entire sequence for the third goal for Atlanta. To Abby's question, should there have really been 7 minutes?
I don't think so.
I don't think
You
so.
had a couple of sub, and they were sub blocks. They were not like just one and one.
Sub blocks. You had 2 goals scored total. You had the confrontation after the second goal, which took a little bit of time to get sorted. You have VAR checks to make sure everything's good. I think 7 minutes was stretching it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was as I don't think it was as egregious as maybe some do.
Yeah.
I would say I expected like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
7 minutes felt like a stretch. It didn't feel like it didn't feel like it was cooked that bad. It wasn't like it was 10 minutes. 10 minutes would have been like we're burning things down.
Yes.
Because I don't know if Atlanta could have held on for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they were hurting at the end too.
Yep.
Yeah.
A couple of Johannes Schneider updates, another couple of Yo bombs for us this morning. After a stat correction yesterday, Atlanta United's Brad Guzan is now officially credited with 9 saves in Game 3, a new club postseason record, tied for the single-match club record in any MLS match. Second time this postseason, he's broken the club's single-match playoff save record, set it in Game 1 against Miami with 8, only to top it in Game 3. The 9 saves also tie his personal playoff career high, shutout with Chivas in 2006, including Decision Day. Guzan has made 32 saves in the last 5 Atlanta United matches over the course of Guzan's 299 MLS matches, regular season and playoffs. That's the most saves in any 5-match stretch of his career. So, Brad has been busy. He has been busy over the last handful of games for Atlanta United. And let's see. So I'm trying to see who else is here that was in more and more. Parsons rules 2 defenders in the box require a stop and play. Derek says after what they did to Guzan on the goal prior, Miami did not deserve clemency.
Yeah, that seems to be where everybody is with it. And look, man, like that whole like in the goal mouth fight was just so. It was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a multitude of questions for you, Miami. Just because it was so unnecessary. Nothing happened. I felt like nothing was going to happen because, again, Jordan rules, man. It's Miami.
Yeah,
like they're gonna get away with it. You don't have to like it, but accept it.
Yes.
That they're going to get away with it, and they did. But aside from that, like. That's just such an unnecessary risk from Campana and then from Suarez. Again, there's something almost admirable about the fact that Luis Suarez has not tried to like correct his reputation around the world.
The older, more tame Luis Suarez.
No, he just Luis Suarez just rolled in and said, "What you see is what you get." It's been that way since day one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to pretend to be the nice old man. I'm just going to stay the same.
No.
But man, like, it's very funny watching all of this unfold. Because it helps when you win these games that you can have these conversations. Because if Atlanta had lost after the Suarez Campana thing, everyone would have been like buying up rental property in their own feelings for the foreseeable future.
You ain't kidding. Michael Head, morning to Michael and morning to Tom Russo, who are now in as well. Michael says, right now in Manhattan, Garber and team are trying to figure out how to get Messi and friends into the Cup final next year.
Oh, they're already like, it's next year's going to be a best of 7.
Yes, it will be. Absolutely.
And everyone will die.
Yeah, and then there was the joke that the Shield winners will play the Cup winners to determine an actual MLS champion. Then if that doesn't and then if it doesn't work, then it turns into a best of 3.
And then a best of 5.
Yes.
Best of 7.
Until it turns around, absolutely.
Like, here's the thing, like, because Jordi Alba was mad about this. Like, Jordi Alba was mad about a lot of things. Like, he was harassing the ref off the field, on the way off the field, too. Jordi Alba was very much mad.
Well, Jordi Alba needs to get over it.
Well, because he talked about, it should be East-West champions playing against
champions.
Well, because he's thinking about it in the sense of, like, you have 2 conferences, the conference winners should just meet, which is kind of like the old NASL style, like NASL 2.0 style, where, you'd have the Apertura and Clausura.
Yeah.
And you'd have the winners play in Soccer Bowl. But you've always done playoffs here, and they've changed. And like, the best of 3 isn't my favorite format. There are parts of it I like.
I get
one of them being that, like, if like game 1 gets sideways for you, you can just throw everything at it because goal difference doesn't matter. So it can be like, we're down 2-0 at the half. Well, you don't have to pack up shop worried about goal difference for the second leg. You can just YOLO it and just start firing things into the wall, trying to turn it around, and end up with drunken games. That part is fun. I prefer 2-legged ties, 100%. That is my preference.
Yeah.
I do not get to make that decision. By the way, just for posterity, if we'd have done 2-legged ties for this series, it would have been Atlanta and Miami tied at 3 on aggregate, both having won 2-1 at home. We would have ended up with a shootout and chaos anyway after game 2.
Yes.
Because Shande's goal would have sent it to a shootout.
Yes.
But
it was best of 3.
It was best of 3. And yeah, Emilio, it should be 2-leg aggregate for him. Up to the MLS Cup, I agree, and then a one-off for the Cup. If you want to get really weird and get like South America, you could do like a 2-legged Cup final, where like each team hosts a leg of the Cup final. But yeah, man, it's also the fact that, look, Miami had 3 games to win here, and in a 3-game series, you expect a better team to win out. Like any given Sunday, that discussion point is always valid with one-off games, which is why a game 3 was always so weird and so risky for Miami, because all it needed was Atlanta to believe in themselves for 90 minutes, and they did, and to win, and they did. Whereas for Miami, you should have won 2 of those 3 games. And the one game you won against a team that was playing its 3rd game in 7 days.
Yep.
And you needed a Jordi Alba Galasso to get past Brad Guzan, who has rolled back the clock hilariously so, to the point where I think people kind of, I can't tell if people were we're kind of in like the Poe's law of, I'm not sure if people on the internet are joking or not.
Right.
Of maybe we should have called Brad in for the national team camp at 40 years old, because he's been amazing. He's been in an insane run of form. I know he's not the goalkeeper of the future, but call him in for old time's sake, just one last time. He's earned it. But you had 3 games to win. The one you won was against a team that was dead on its feet. Then you took the lead in the next 2 games, and you lost them both. As a team that set a points record, that's unacceptable. It just is. You can be as mad as you want about Brad Guzan catching on fire, about your defensive issues, about missed chances, because there were a lot of near misses where, like, ball across the box just out of reach of Suarez, or just out of reach of insert Miami attacker here.
Yep.
But the end of the day, you had to win 2 out of 3 of these matches. You took the lead first in all 3 of them. In the playoffs, where it's cagey, and you didn't win 2 of them.
Nope.
That's where it begins and ends for me.
Yep. Jordi Alba, he says, this format seems a little unfair to me. It's clear that it has been done this way for many years, but if you ask me if it were up to me, I would have to be the champion of one conference against the champion of the other to make it as fair as possible. That's how it is. I repeat, congratulations to the rival team. I think that they competed very well against us. They knew their weapons. The goalkeeper was spectacular and good. I think that is what clearly marked the difference. Okay, so hashtag rival team. That's Atlanta United from now on. So Atlanta United is just rival team. That's where it is. Morning, Liam's one girl. Welcome. I think this is one of the first times that you've been here. No reason a card should not have been issued. It was BS. And we mentioned Alex's point. Morning, Hutch. Let's see. OG says that Messi's a big boy now. Understand trying to defend your teammate and protecting the golden goose, but that man does not need that kind of protection. He's a big boy now. And so apparently Abby says that there was no...
Messi didn't seem bothered by anything. Like,
no.
He took the ball from Brad. Brad kind of like reacted and then just kind of was like, whatever. It's not worth fighting. Like, getting into a fight with Messi, you don't win that.
Yeah.
So, like, worst case scenario, you make him angry.
Yeah.
And then he scores again.
Yeah. Apparently the Sunday paper had no recap of the match. So that's on the AJC and their timing. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. Morning, David. And let's see. So we got to get into the Lily Johannes news because that is officially official as well. Tom in this morning, Miami trying to claim bad sportsmanship as high comedy. You lost any claim to that earlier when you threw sportsmanship out the window. Let's see. David did have the lengthy possible red. So we did have that lengthy possible red card review on Campana after the incident with Brad. Wait, that didn't happen. True. But yeah, so like 7 minutes, I think, was high end. I would have thought maybe 5 with subs and the coming together and all of that stuff. So Michael's like, MLS came up with the dumb schedule. Now they get to live with it. Now you're in the one-offs. You're in the one-offs. Exactly. So that's where we are with all of this. Let me get through the numbers and the stats for the game while I'm searching what's on your mind.
No, I'm actually reading like the autopsy of this from Matthew Doyle right now over at MLS, the mothership.
I'm sorry.
And no, it's because he's right. He's really good about breaking things down after the fact like this. I do recommend it. Where he talked about, Miami's warning signs were there this year. Like, they turned the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't as good defensively. Busquets was running out of gas. Like, the warning signs were there, and someone punished them because they hit exactly at the weak points and had a goalkeeper play out of their mind. A la, we got Brad, Joey Quick Guzan back there.
Yeah.
And then he mentioned, because I'm going to rant about this one, though, is the idea of Julian Gressel. Julian Gressel did not play in any of these games.
Nope.
Julian Gressel started damn near every game for that team. Julian Gressel cannot defend. Or will not defend. I don't know which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
You could, when Atlanta's going to bomb you down the sides like that, and they're not going to, Atlanta wasn't like suicidally attack minded, but they held the line. We talked about it after game 2, that the way they defended, where they don't drop back and back and back and back and back and give up that space between the penalty spot and the top of the box.
Yep.
They did that one time in game 3, and it led to Miami's first goal.
Yep.
Where they didn't track Messi into that spot. Messi makes the late run into the box, gets his shot away, Brad makes the save, and then it's put away. It happens. But Atlanta played them straight up, which makes it a little bit trickier for Miami to deal with. And then you had a goalkeeper catch on fire. I will say I was not surprised as everyone else that Julian Gressel didn't feature in the series. I was surprised that he wasn't on the field after the 80th minute in game 3.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you give up a 4th goal there. You have to get a 3rd to get this to penalties. Maybe find a 4th. Because I think if Miami had found a 3rd, the odds of them finding a 4th would have gone exponentially, as Atlanta, I think that would have been like a straw that potentially broke Atlanta's back.
Yep.
Of like, we got that close and we didn't do it, and then you got to stay locked in. I don't know why Julian wasn't on the field in the last 10 minutes.
Yep.
Because of what he can provide you with early crosses, he's not going to create a ton of space for himself, in my opinion. Like, that's not his forte.
No.
But he can feed off of everyone else's space. So other players who generate so much gravity and so much attention, he can be that guy who benefits from it and gets a clean look and whips the ball in. I was shocked that he wasn't on the field in the last 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that wasn't one of your Hail Mary subs at the end.
Yep. Numbers on here's the roster, the starting 11. You can formate it however you want. I just created a new word.
As I say that, I'm going to go back and look at their. You go ahead. I'm going to go back and look at their
backline left to right, Jordi Alba, David Martinez, Tomas Aviles, and Chelo Weigand. Midfield listed in a 4-3-3, Kremoski, Redondo, Rojas, and then up top, Diego Gomez, Luis Suarez, Lionel Messi. The subs.
But he took Rojas out for Robert Taylor in the 83rd minute, and that I think. Hold on, that was the last sub window they had because they made the sub. Campana came in for Kremoski.
Right.
Then Busquets had to come in for Aviles because Aviles was just cooked in the 78th minute.
Yep.
And then Robert Taylor for Rojas. But they only used 3 subs.
3 subs, 3 windows. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest. Like, which I mean, it makes sense. Like you didn't, but all those are weird. Like you had done the Campana coming on. Campana came on 5 minutes before Messi scored.
Yep.
To tie the game up in 65th, which is fine. You make the change for Aviles to come out for Busquets in the 70th, which is right after the Sleesh goal. In that, you just had to get that sub out. You had 1 window left, and the only change you made in the 83rd was Taylor and for Rojas. I was, in hindsight, now that I look at it, I'm surprised there wasn't more aggressive substitution. Like you because at that point you have to throw everything at the wall. You have to. I don't know who you would have taken off.
Right.
But you have to just throw everything at the wall. And I was kind of surprised you didn't throw Julian at the wall just because of what he gives you on whipping balls in from the outside. And Atlanta, because I think Atlanta would have, especially because Atlanta was trying to limit Jordi Alba's ability to deliver that ball in from the left. I was surprised. I was just surprised you didn't see Julian on the right-hand side trying to benefit from the weak side. Anyway, go on.
No, well, Diego Gomez, perhaps could have been your sub in that window if you bring in somebody like Julian. You're taking off north-south and you're taking off a creator that can flip to either side, and you would bring in somebody like Julian to sit there and try to feed what's going on in the in the middle of the park. So that would, to me, that would be why that would be an idea to do something like that. That would be the only thing, because Noah Allen was used at the back. He was not used as someone. He was used as an out of position center back, and that would have been what I think you would have done for Noah Allen, unless you literally just get to the point to where you're like, screw it, I'm gonna go to a back 3, because Jordi Alba is more like a 3-4-3 anyway. And Jordi Alba was playing on the left-hand side more as an attacking midfielder at points. Then you sit there and you bring in, David Martinez, Aviles, and Weigand. We mentioned the Aviles sub for 12 minutes to go, but you're not going to take out David Martinez because of what he can do going up the left-hand side, and Weigand was giving you problems up the right-hand side. So I don't know. I mean, do you pull one of them and turn it into a back 2 and, do like a, 2-4, whatever, something like that? That's the only thing I can think of that you would do in that particular situation. Is maybe it's Gomez, or maybe it's Martinez or Weigand to, throw as much possible forward. That's the only thing I can figure that you would do in that situation, because your bench really doesn't have anything that can help you out there. I mean, Negri, Noah Allen, Lawson Sunderland, Ryan Saylor, Julian Gressel. I mean, that was your bench, along with CJ Dos Santos, who's your backup keeper in that situation. So that's where you were. And then, of course, Shande comes in and nutmegs Busquets. It's welcome to the match. And then Busquets earned his yellow as a bit of a payback, which gave Atlanta a set piece opportunity. But hey, that's fine. So I don't know what you do.
Shout out to Taylor Twelman for sharing the GIF of, because the discussion about if Atlanta should have stopped playing when Aviles was laying on the ground, sharing the GIF of the time where Messi was playing against Colorado.
Yeah, and booped the guy.
There's a Colorado player down at the edge of the box, and Messi just kind of just flicks the ball over this guy laying on the ground hurt and continues to play and almost scores.
Yeah.
Which honestly makes this conversation much funnier.
Yeah. Yeah. Boop. Yeah, just kind of, it's over the top. So, I mean, you could have looked at all of those things involving Messi and friends, and I think they were pinned in. I think that they were pinned in ideas, and your back line is suspect enough as it is, and you swap offense for defense and just make it less defense. I don't know. So that's the big element here. Ricky Ricardo, is Chris Anderson available now? So we'll keep an eye on that. Possibly, perhaps.
Well, like you said, no.
Well, it is a Monday.
Now we're getting into the point of the season where now it's autopsy time for Miami.
Yeah, it is.
Which I know Doyle wrote one, and you're going to get more. You're going to get a lot of autopsies about this Miami team and how they build it for next year, because I think Gressel's on 1.1 million. If you're not going to play him in the playoffs, get him off your books.
Yeah,
plenty of teams in this league would take him and use him.
Yeah,
like you can find rosters where he will fit nicely as like a piece who can contribute, and you can just kind of shade and give cover for him.
Julian's guaranteed for 25 and 26, according to Spot Track, with a club option for 27.
That's 2-year contract. There's teams that would take him, but if you're not going to play him in the playoffs, then you're basically like that's a luxury sports car. And it's hard to have luxury sports cars in a capped league.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if he goes to another team, he's more of like a daily driver.
Yeah. Jordi Alba is a club option for 25, guaranteed for 25. Aviles, Busquets, Campana, Gressel, Diego Gomez. Krivtsov is a club option. I don't see him returning. Messi is guaranteed for one more year. Franco Negri has a club option for 25. Redondo is guaranteed for 25 as a U22. Emerson is on loan through June. Rojas is a club option. Ryan Saylor is a club option. Robert Taylor is guaranteed. And Chelo Wegant and CJ Dos Santos are club options. Leo Afonso, who was injured most of the year, is a club option. Noah Allen's guaranteed. Yannick Bright is a club option. Drake Callender is guaranteed.
Yannick Bright missing is I don't know if we talked enough about it.
Nope.
Because Busquets couldn't get E90.
Nope.
Busquets can't run anyway. Nope. I mean, his brain is still sharp as ever, and he can pick out a pass like anybody in the world. But Yannick Bright as that defensive midfielder not being available, I mean, that really sucked for them, because they just, when Redondo got a yellow card at one point, it was like, that's not the guy you want on a yellow.
No.
You don't have another option.
No.
Except for old injured Sergio Busquets.
Yeah. Kromoski guaranteed. Ian Frey is a club option. Cole Jensen is a club option. David Ruiz is guaranteed. And Lawson Sunderland is a club option. Boatwright, Farias, Tyler Hall, David Martinez is on. They're all guaranteed. David Martinez is on a loan until June. Santi Morales is guaranteed. Valencia is a club option. Busquets, Campana, and Messi are your 3 DPs. They are guaranteed. U22s, they have 5 U22s. Aviles, Farias, Gomez, Redondo, and Emerson. And once again, Emerson's out on loan until June with a club option at 26. So that is according to Spot Track, the salary, the roster situation for Messi and friends for 25. Looking at the salary numbers for 24, you end up with Messi guaranteed 20.4, Busquets guaranteed 8 3/4, Suarez guaranteed at 1.5, Alba at 1.5, Gressel at $1,092,069. That's a rather exact figure. He was TAM. Nicola Frere $1 million. And then everybody else is under $1 million. Krivtsov at 809. You want to talk luxury sports car. Campana, cheap at 722. That's a cheap DP slot.
Man, Campana's another one that if they put him on the market, MLS team's going to be jumping at that. Jorge is somewhere actively throwing things, as I say this out loud. Plenty of teams would jump at Campana for that number.
Yep. Let's see. Then Fadias 675, Matias Rojas 516, Gomez at 504, Aviles at 412, and this is full compensation. This is the full guarantee. Callender at 405, Wegand at 384, Emerson at 380, Negri at 342, Taylor for 326, Robbie Robinson no longer on the books, but he was at 262, Redondo at 255 as a U22, CJ Dos Santos, Ryan Saylor at league veteran minimums, Frey at 125, Kromoski at 106 guaranteed, Noah Allen, Yannick Bright, and then Afonso Jensen, Ruiz, and Lawson Sunderland all on the rookie men's at 71,401. You have non-actives that were guaranteed and guaranteed salaries, and Edison Ascona, who was dead money in 24, then traded and bought by Vegas Lights in USL Championship, and Schneider Borgelin also that way. But they were first in senior roster salary, $40,495,000. 16th in non-active salary, 24th in dead money at 183, but obviously first in salary totals on the senior roster at almost $40.5 million. So there it is.
They're gonna have to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I mean, you got to figure out what Suarez is. I know the rumors of Neymar, which just feel kind of comical at this point.
Yes.
Because you'd have to rewrite some rules to shoehorn that one in, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Shooter, it wasn't just a backline, man. It's that defensive midfield. Busquets can't run.
No.
Yannick Bright was basically asked to do the job as that series went on, and he was fine. The wild ass part was when Tata took him out in the game too, and went full attack. And it's well, you don't really have another option here now. I guess because. I don't know how they rebuild. They're going to have to rebuild that. We're going to have to improve the back line, which I think Noah Allen will be interesting as he grows, because I think he can be very good. But you still would like to have better coverage as a 6. I don't know how you fix all that.
Yep.
On that budget without getting really creative, and you're turning over every rock in the creek that you can, looking for salamanders here.
Yep. Absolutely true. Let's see. Also on the board this morning, Minnesota's still alive. You can thank Dane St. Clair for that, Emilio. Emilio wants an Atlanta United, Minnesota United MLS Cup. The team that started the season with the manager and TD still overseas. It feels like a long time ago. It was a long time ago. And then we get into the college football show, which reminds me, I need to have you and or Maddie on the college football show this week to discuss the situation in Kennesaw. So keep an eye.
You mean the part where Kennesaw State put out a press release saying that the coach resigned, and then the coach jumped on Twitter and said, "Hey, I didn't resign, I was fired."
Yep, that. Yep,
we couldn't even get a month of joy out of that Liberty win. Although they almost beat UTEP Saturday night.
Yeah, took them to overtime.
Not only that, I don't know if you watched the end of that game.
Mm-mm.
Kennesaw was on the 40-yard line with 20 seconds left. And Davis Bryson threw a pick with 15 seconds left when they were 10 yards away from field goal range. And getting set for a walk-off field goal. He throws a pick. It gets returned to the 40. UTEP tries a long field goal that misses, but Kennesaw gets called for a leaping penalty. So they get another shot closer, and they still miss it, and then it goes to overtime. That game was really weird. But, yeah, there's a friend of mine and I have debated Kennesaw for a while. That I thought if you were going to make changes with Bohannon, you should have done it a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. To do it now is just, it looks bad. And now it looks even worse because you've been called a liar by the entire team and now the coach.
Yeah.
Good job, Kennesaw.
Yeah.
Just picking up where you left off when you let Amir Abdul Rahim walk.
Woo.
After he took you to the tournament in basketball.
Well done by you. Other couple of pieces of news, and we'll go over another couple of things here. Lily Johannes, in a release a little under an hour ago, so at 10 o'clock Eastern time, she is switching her representation internationally to the United States. 2 paragraphs. Want to extend her deepest gratitude to the U.S. and the Dutch Feds for their unwavering support and patient guidance as I made my decision regarding my international future. Dedication and encouragement have been invaluable, and I extend my heartfelt thanks to both federations. After much consideration, Lily Johannes has the 2 hats on the table. After much consideration, I decided to commit to represent my country, the United States, my homeland, my birthplace, and where my extended family resides. These strong connections have driven me to honor my roots and proudly commit to U.S. soccer, excited and eager to continue putting in the work to earn my place on the U.S. women's national team. So Lily Ohanas, 10 o'clock Eastern time. She is committed to the red, white, and blue, Jarrett.
I love that we're now just doing this like we're doing college football prospects.
Oh,
like
absolutely we are.
Like, you should do like Isaiah Crowell did and just pull out, like, if y'all don't remember.
Bring out the puppy.
Yeah, Isaiah Crowell, the Carver Columbus legend, was choosing between, I believe it was Bama and Georgia or Auburn and Georgia.
I think it was Alabama,
And he, for his hat ceremony where he sat down at the table on the stage with the hats in front of him, he pulled out a bulldog puppy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
She should have pulled out like a small bald eagle or something.
That would have been awesome if she'd pulled out a bald eagle from under the table.
Oh, yeah.
And had the glove on and everything. And
she'd have to have the glove on because then she's going to miss time because a bald eagle is just going to like lacerate her arm if she tries to hold it.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
The other piece of reffing down here this morning, and we probably need to go here, and I'm going to go ahead and do it because this is some deep-ish that's going on overseas, and so we've got to lay this out here. Dale Johnson et al. Premier League referee David Coote has been suspended pending a full investigation after a video was circulated on social media which appeared to show him making disparaging remarks about Liverpool and their former manager Jurgen Klopp. 2 clips were posted on an account on the 280-character app in which Coote is apparently sitting on a sofa next to an unidentified male who asks questions about Liverpool and Klopp. If the video is verified as being genuine, Coote, who was the referee for Liverpool's 2-0 win at home to Villa on Saturday, would appear to have no future as a top-flight referee. There will be no further update from PGMOL, the refereeing body for English football, until the investigation's been completed, but Coote will be unavailable for selection as a referee or a VAR during this time. While not on the UEFA list as a referee, he has been alongside Stuart Atwell, been a lead VAR appointed to Euro 2024. It is unclear when the video was filmed, but there is a reference to Coote being 4th official on a Liverpool game earlier in the day and COVID social distancing. When asked about Liverpool's performance in the game, Coote replied, "Liverpool were ish." He didn't use the word ish.
You can't.
And it gets better.
You can't be someone in that position and not assume that everything's going to be recorded. You just can't. It's too dangerous, man. Life's too dangerous for this.
The referee is then asked about Klopp, to which he responds, let's see, how can I phrase this? He uses the C word, and I imagine it's the one that has to do with South Carolina's mascot, because it is C blank blank blank, and this is us playing Scrabble this morning.
So you're playing Wordle right now, but go on.
Yeah. So Wordle, it is C and 3 dashes, and then it's absolute C and 3 dashes. So I'm guessing it's a word that rhymes with block. That's my guess. Asked why he has this opinion, Coote adds, quote, "Aside from having a right pop at me when I was reffed them against Burnley in lockdown, then he accused me of lying and then just had a right effing pop at me. I've got no interest in speaking to somebody as effing arrogant. So I do my best not to speak to him." James Milner's all right. Officiated a 1-1 draw for Liverpool at home to Burnley in 2020. What suggests the video was filmed during lockdown is that Coote then shows a picture of him in a mask on the touchline at a Liverpool match and says, quote, "You can see me there with mask on. COVID, got to be done. Social distancing, right? We're 10 meters apart." Coote then adds in another apparent reference to Klopp, "But oh my God, German block. F me." Or F me. Individual sat alongside Coote then said, "Long story short, Jurgen Klopp is a block. Liverpool are all effing bell ends. We hate Scousers," end quote.
Yeah, you can't keep your job right now.
The second shorter video sees Coots say, quote, "Just to be clear, that effing last video can't go anywhere. Seriously," end quote.
Well, yeah, okay, you doomed yourself. No one feels bad for you right now.
Yeah. The other person then responds in the second video, quote, "He's a Premier League referee. Let's not effing ruin his career. Let's face it, we're good blokes, but we can't ruin a bloke's career. We're not that bad. Also, he's an effing legend, so let's not ruin his career," end quote. I think that was done fairly well by themselves in that video. So David Coote suspended by the PGMOL until further notice. Woo! Using words that rhyme with block.
It's just...
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he can't keep his job now.
No, you can't.
He's got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Can't be here, son. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Ricky says he thinks that the word rhymes with punt and not block. Either
very
way.
Possible. Very possible.
That is very possible. But either way, playing ref Wordle this morning, it still ain't good for David Coote. It still ain't good. No. So I don't know if that's given British slang, Ricky says, I think it rhymes with punt. But yeah, either way, I don't think it quite is a good thing to have out on tape. By the way, this can't go out. You know, we can't release this video, right? Sure, you can't. Oh, no. This has to be kept in the PGMOL, according to our buddy Ben Jacobs. David Coote's been suspended with immediate effect pending a full investigation. PGMOL will be making no further comment until that process is complete, end quote. Because PGMOL is aware. They're aware of what's going on with David Coote. Yeah, that part, Ricky says, that part made me chuckle. No one's going to know about this, right? Right? No one's going to know about this. I'm going to shoot a video. No one's going to know about it. Sure thing. Let's see. USM&T had a roster pull. Once again, Soccer for US POD 101. So the freshman level course is going to be up later this morning, as well as the interview with the new technical director at Chattanooga FC. Tomorrow morning, we are going to have the new women's coach on with us at the Chattanooga Football Club at 10:15, followed by Kaylor Hodges at 10:30. So hour number 2 shaping up to be pretty busy. Mauricio Pochettino's 25-man squad for the USA's first official competition since he's in charge includes Cade Cowell, Brendan Vasquez, and Alex Zendejas. 4 MLS-based players, 2 of the 4 keepers. 18 European-based players complete the roster for the CONCACAF Nations League quarterfinal series against Jamaica November 14 in Kingston, November 18 in St. Louis. Winner advances to the Final Four next March in Inglewood, basically at SoFi. In the regional competition, of which the USA is 3-time defending champ, arrived in camp on Sunday in Florida. Team travels to Jamaica Wednesday afternoon. Veteran players unavailable because of injury. First under Pochettino for Weah, Cardoso, and Chris Richards. Weston McKennie did attend the first half of the October camp, but left after the Panama game. It is Diego Koken, Schulte, Steffen, and Matt Turner in net. McKenzie, Ream, Richards, Jedi, Miles, Joe Scally, Austin Trusty, your defense. Midfield, Aronson, Brendan, Busio, Johnny, McKinney, Aiden Morris, Eunice Musa, Tanner Tessman, Malik Tillman. Forwards, Cade Cowell, Ricardo Pepi, Pulisic, Vasquez, Weah, Zendejas. They were all named. Dest, De La Torre, Reyna, Balogun, Sargent, and Haji Wright are all injured. Pochettino said he didn't call in Tyler Adams to allow him to work his way back into game form following the 5-month absence after doing back surgery. Adams returned to play 2 weeks ago for Bournemouth after 2 appearances on the bench, played 67 minutes in the 3-2 loss for Brentford on the weekend. So that's your roster, and that's your 25 for this go-round here in November. Before we get out of here, we got to do gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it, and all those kinds of things before we get out of here. Michael is asking a question to the floor, Jared. Who else is concerned that about half our team is going abroad for international duty?
So I'm actually really angry at MLS for setting the schedule the way they did because they're a bunch of blockheads. and part of this is because you make the playoffs take so freaking long.
Yeah.
I despise the international break happening right now, because the way it's happened, I hate that it's kind of breaking up Atlanta's momentum. I think Atlanta just should be playing like every week right now. Like, just have the momentum, just full bore straight ahead.
Yeah.
I hate that they broke up the momentum.
Absolutely.
We'll see what they look like coming back for the Orlando game. I imagine they'll be up for it anyway. I'm just kind of picking at things at this point to be annoyed by.
Nothing wrong with that.
Also, we're all in kind of like FEA mode anyway. But,
yes. Did you get your T-shirt?
No, I did not. It's a busy weekend.
Yes.
And not even for the usual reasons or the reasons that you would expect. It was just like running around with the kid and doing fall festival things all weekend.
There you go. Okay.
But yeah, man, it was very odd. Yeah, I don't like the schedule structure. I don't like that you have a 2-week break between games now. I know the international break is kind of tricky to deal with across all leagues, but I can still be kind of annoyed by it.
Yes. Jonathan Tannenwald, Philadelphia Inquirer. Apparently, Ernst Tanner is giving a post-mortem for the season. Tanner finally says aloud what was rumored about him and Jim Curtin. Quote, over the course of the last year, we felt we are not really aligned here. Things did not turn out like we talked about when Tanner gave Curtin a contract extension last year. So that's the word out of Philadelphia. What to watch tonight, light schedule. Fox Deportes has Liga MX Femenil at 10 o'clock, Tigres and Pumas. Paramount Plus, Argentina Primera. Deportivo Riestra Vélez Sarsfield is at 2 o'clock. Argentinos Juniors and Bonfield is at 7. College, it is the 64-team field going to be announced at 4 o'clock on NCAA.com. 30 conference champs, 34 at-large selections. And so the 64-team field gets announced 4 o'clock this afternoon at NCAA.com. Once again, tomorrow we'll go back over more things. We'll go back over more stuff. And we'll have Chattanooga FC's new women's coach joining us at 10:15. Kaylor Hodges joining us at 10:30 to break down how the top 2 seeds in the playoffs in USL Championship went boom. And Spokane, by the way, Velocity make it to the League One final on the road, knocking off Forward Madison. So the 7 seed wins twice and is now in the last match of the year to take on Los Bujos, the Murder Owls, in Lagos Kunga. So we'll see what we can grab out of Union Omaha this week, out of Spokane this week, and out of USL Championship with Kaylor starting things off on Tuesday. So it's been a busy day. And so, Jared, I will give you the last thoughts on the day about this entire weekend. So you get the last thoughts. What's on your last thoughty in mind?
This was, and I'm going to actually reference something that I just saw from Jeremiah Oshan out in Seattle.
Yep.
3 of the 5 biggest upsets in playoff history by point difference happened this year. So you have, look, Atlanta and Inter Miami is statistically the biggest upset that we've ever seen.
Yes.
I understand that Atlanta still has like that reputation, I think, especially abroad for people who don't pay attention to the day-to-day. That's a 34-point difference based on how they finished.
Yes.
Next was NYC and New England in 2021, where NYC went on to win the Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have NYC beating Cincy, which was a 19-point difference this year. It was also a 19-point difference for Red Bulls beating Columbus. Like, round 1 in the East was basically a lumberjack match for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, it was.
And frankly, and we haven't really gotten into this unless you got into it before me, and if you did, I apologize. It very easily could have been worse because Orlando got handed a rather soft penalty to rescue them. Have you seen it?
No, I have not. We're definitely getting into it tomorrow because today was about Atlanta.
Yeah. It's a tug of Duncan McGuire's jersey.
Of course it was.
He is tugged. Like you can see there's a pull. Like you can see that jersey separate.
Okay.
But He also throws himself on the ground so hard he separates his shoulder. It could have been worse and more chaotic. I'm sure we can like autopsy this with Jess or Willie P at some point. Because it could have been so much more chaotic. The East is a lumberjack fight and or lumberjack match at this point with everybody standing around the ring. And we'll have 2 weeks to dissect what's going to happen next. But you have a Hudson River, and then like the I-75 for Eastern Conference Finals. As mad as MLS might be about Miami not being here, Columbus not being here. You have 4 teams that hate each other for different reasons.
Correct.
Also, NYC and Orlando go back to like the 2020 playoffs where like they had really dumb shootouts where like Pedro Gillespie got sent off and a field player had to make saves for Orlando.
Rodrigo Schlegel.
Yeah, it was Schlegel. You're right. You actually have compelling games, so fret not because Messi's on the sideline. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You're gonna have fun games.
Extra primo good, Mr. Jarrett, sir. Absolutely true. So since we're past 11 o'clock, that means we'll be back here tomorrow morning, 9:05 Eastern. Once again, hour number 2, we'll talk about what else happened this past weekend, including what Jarrett just referenced. Anything else on your mind? Any carryovers from everything that went down on your Monday and everything else in and around soccer and Major League Soccer and all that kind of stuff? Like I said, 10:15, the new head coach at Chattanooga FC on the women's side will join us. Kaylor Hodges joining us at 10:30 to break down everything going on in the USL Championship. No New Mexico United, no Lou City making it out of this round. So Rhode Island FC continues their run. That means we probably have to catch up with Conno Smith if he believes in things that are ritual. So it will be a fun Tuesday morning. So, Jared, as you would, sir, please send us home.
Mucha plata, y'all.
What he said back in a little less than 22.